Are you? Oh, wait, I think I so I was like, it's not.
Is it canceled?
I don't think that's why I was wondering.
Yeah.
I don't think.
Good watch time, man. What's up?
Riley.
Wait, what are the other two?
I thought that's what I really working.
Well, she said she's already, like,
And then why is the USGD?
so probably.
We got corn barely here.
But, I mean, like.
Somebody could just split.
And we got two lines, they're like,
Yeah, I would be very nice to be for seven, but I was hoping you to, and I told him, and he didn't know where I minded, it is the short track.
I'm sure it is.
Remember that? You tried it?
I never got a call.
Well, I had to up and down.
It was okay, I was like, I don't care.
Okay, so here we go. I should move it to
Yeah. You can use like the copy and then make a new document in that
Oh, you said something like that. So they meant to put our message I'm excited. And I was looking for
Good job.
That worked.
Yeah, that's fine. She just wants the team member to be able to see it.
Oh, I have to get that.
What is
Are
it?
you?
It's a library.
I'm gonna do this too, but there's meeting.
Gotcha.
What's the budget for?
So we're all gonna go out.
On our budget?
Yeah.
Okay, so you could, that's part of my updates. Okay, good. Just not a line item. Down here.
Yeah.
I am though. Or just kicked me out of my business. I didn't do that. She did that. I'm more able. She's more able. Oh, yeah, so good. So good. Still a tinker. No, leave them out and run out and love why
I walk
No, actually, I'll go to meetings and I'll just give us back. That's how much I lost money. We did like 4 meetings. Are you aware of how people fight over who gets to the next one? Meetings happen all year.
The entire time.
Oh,
I
exactly.
didn't know what these notice that I've done.
Oh, okay.
every single time, except for the one guy who said last time that I was here until late.
You can all sit next to me.
I mean,
All right, we'll switch quick. My name tag is here.
No,
If someone sit behind Lauren, I put the name tag there. Jackie says she's head.
yeah.
It was my mistake. It was
Taylor also.
Yeah.
I love it. So talk to me. Everyone's like, no, I get to next door. And I'm like, that's fine. Because it's fine. I'm gonna sit here anyway. How are you? You just want me to go back to the two.
Oh, I had a.
You're so
Anyway, that's it's upside down, but it's because of the
I'm wondering if it's West Spring's over there.
Yeah.
Nonsense, who's the upside?
Oh, yeah.
I have no I'm love me.
I've never watched the Office. How people watch it?
He was here. I'm so bad at it.
Is it not going on?
They're like so bad at it.
I have.
But it's like.
Like, I went here.
But it's just like, and like,
But I just like, I don't know, like, I could be really like invested in the show. I saw that one, I was just like, there's no consistency.
It's not. I'm pretty sure my laptop's We always.
Yeah, this does seem short.
Is anyone going down?
Kind of. It's really the committee that controls.
I'm like,
The Senate.
Are you sorry for this?
Yeah, they're just saying like, you're doing it wrong, so you're drinking your shirt.
Anybody have a? You didn't? No, I got it.
So are you finance?
No, I was between journalism and finance, and then I had an epiphany over winter break. I decided that I wanted to make more different tactics, do more than just like finance. So I started to major in journalism, healthcare, industry.
Nick West.
Like still.
This is what happened. Like, I just like, I just miss my
And then I got applied to but I did it, no one like actually. I'm pretty good at that too. That's like what.
Well, I mean, Samantha's. I know. Mine is like full of Roosevelt. Just like it looks nice. Hi. Hello.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say you disagree, but I forgot.
Oh, yeah, so Jackson told me that like casually, meeting like I do that.
Yeah, it was awkward.
Casually.
We're also-
Very awkward.
Yeah, he was like, oh, yeah.
I was confused about that, but I learned that through life. I live in.
Yes, it's technically.
But then he sent me the point of the Bible.
Oh, yeah.
Let me check for you. You guys have that feedback, was it like 600? No, we have one of our senators that has 630 views on YouTube. No. I found one of them,
Oh.
630.
Yep. 157 views.
Why?
There's no way.
I don't know, people care about it.
I watched it over and over.
You just had it on like time.
I'm just so excited.
Okay.
Oh.
Yeah. We're calling this meeting to order at 3 o'clock. Roll call.
Okay, so Rita,
Here.
Brian. Here. Kat.
Here.
Marcus. Here. Savannah.
Here.
Yeah. Jackson.
Here.
Adele's here. Nate. Here. Nestor. Excuse. Bryce. Eric. Lauren.
Here.
Hunter. Here. Brayden.
Yes.
No longer.
Oh, yeah. Heidi.
Yeah.
Mary Ann.
Okay.
Awesome. Nestor. Ernie. Here. Martin. Here. Jade.
Here.
Riley.
It is me.
Katie. Ryan. Hi, Ariana.
Here.
Caitlin.
Excuse.
Lindsay.
Excuse.
Emily. Erica.
Excuse. Oh, yes. I'm in excuse.
Okay. Final is.
Okay, on to approval of the agenda. Move to approve the agenda.
Second.
All in favor of approving the agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstentions? Approval of the last meeting's minutes. Approve. Second. All in favor of approving, say aye. Aye. Any opposed, any abstentions? All right, call to the audience. Is there anyone who wants to say anything right now? No? Okay, cool. We will move on to funding requests, starting off with shows requests. Is there a representative?
Yep, okay. Hi, everybody, Emma from Student Library for Wellness for show for Student Library Clinic. Trying to throw a banquet for all our ASU student faculty and student faculty ASU volunteers. I was here on Wednesday night, and there's more information requested as far as our fund request goes. How would you like me to best go about this, people that we're here for? There was a question about, we were going to use that glass hook as our catering service. You guys asked why we did not use Paramount. For 2 weeks, I got more information from the person who's more in charge of this. For 2 weeks, we've been trying to get a quote from Paramount. They weren't being quite as responsive than the glass hook, which is on the approved vendors list. Just more responsive, and we like them if we're able to get people in. I understand our Western one might be a little bit high, but I'd like to work to cut corners. Really, any help from you guys would be much appreciated. Any specific question I can answer or address? Okay.
Yeah. So did you say that you didn't really get any feedback from Airmark from the last?
Yeah, I actually who was more in charge of things. I got her this morning, and she'll send an email for further information to the Jackson. I think help clarify a couple points I hope. And I can pull it up too if I reiterate a couple of things. I essentially we've been trying to get a quote from Airmark for while. Again, the student who's more in charge of this works with the ASU Foundation. She's planned numerous events before, numerous organizations. So we know to go to the ASU.
Thank you.
Question, the word before?
As far as I know, yes. She said through some of her work contact, she could try again this week to get another quote, or if you guys know anyone that wants to expedite the process. We don't mind using Aramark, just to work that is responsive and have us. I think she's worked with both before in the past.
I did mention this at the budget allocation meeting earlier this week, but just to also get more understanding, you are requesting the total amount. Have you been to any other organizations and any other outreach yet, other than student government?
No, we definitely started here. We haven't requested for funds from student government before, so that was a good place to start. We were just recently recognized by the ASU Senate for screening events. We issued out the recent breakfast samples, Michael Pro, and Antonio, all those sorts of things. So we started here and really going to support me on this. It's predominantly ASU students.
Thank you. Answer my second question.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, yes. We worked very slightly with your universities. As far as this banquet goes, it's mostly ASU undergraduate volunteers that would be at this. Maybe most of the wrong work, so to say. Graduate students don't really want to do that.
I'm sorry.
And like I said before, we're definitely willing to compromise. Any sort of partial funding would be appreciated, but we did start here. If you guys have any recommendations for other organizations you go to? I'm all ears.
So what is your backpack?
April 21st.
And so you guys have to contact their market data?
I mean, I don't know how active they are over spring break, so I definitely think it's another 2 weeks, including the break. But when I was talking to Megan Rowan this morning, she said she would definitely try again. And the main branch of Aramark she works with, again, she works with the ASU Foundation. And if it was she were here, she has taken an advising appointment. She's like, I really come so I left her. But she said that most of the Aramark branch she's more familiar with is the higher end events for donors, that's more where she works, and the student one. For co-students. Actually, I think the only time we really worked with Aramark was for the donors event at the homeless clinic where we all kind of on the street. The head department of public health came by and that sort of thing. So it was a big event. Not the other.
All those in favor of approving the budget request, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there a representative from the program here? Okay.
How's it going, guys? My name is DJ. I'm the representative from Tempe campus of ProRec. Myself, as well as 3 other students, my names are Tamara Jackson, Bailey Kinney, Marcella Gonzalez, and Rachel Horace. I know she's been talking to you, Jackson, back and forth for a while now. And we finally had a chance for me to come out here. We used to have work and everything in class, and it's not having some time off. So anyways, we have a nursery conference, which is coming up April 2nd through the 7th. And we all purchased our memberships in the organizations in the NERSA conference registration, as well as our flights and everything. We've already received scholarships. So myself, I was awarded the Keith Jacobson Scholarship, which is for our campus alone. That was for $250. Marcella, as well as Bailey, they received the Arizona Cactus Scholarship, which is, I want to say, $500 each. And Rachel wasn't able to get a scholarship because, it's pretty small things. And we're looking for a total of 1,800 possible, or maybe partial for that, for all four of us. So about 450 each for some type of reimbursement on registration. I also printed out some registration fees that I've got, as well as our flight tickets, and our hotels already paid for by our campus recreation, because they are in support of us going to this conference. So they already paid for the hotel. According to this, the hotel itself costs the hotel was $738, so they covered that much as far as the hotel goes. Like I said, registration was $450. That came out of our own pockets, as well as the flights as well. But like I said, since 3 out of the 4 of us got partial scholarships for this and that, some of our flights we covered, part of the registration covered. So either we're looking for, like I said, $450 per person to help us cover for the registration alone, or any type of partial funding will help as well. And once again, also all 4 of us, we're downtown students. We just happen to work in tech, because that's just happened to be the job available.
Okay, so this is mainly for the senators. We're allowed to approve this request because there's nothing in the bylaws that will restrict them from approving this request. Just to make that clear for the record, that we are allowed to approve it. But DJ, I just have a quick question for you. Are you looking for reimbursement, or are you looking for the funding to cover the costs of the registration?
Well, more so funding to cover the cost of registration. Okay. So, like I said, myself in particular, I purchased registration so far. Others have not yet, because they were hoping that, you guys can help out in any kind of way before they purchase anything. I just had purchased mine ahead of time for situations and personal reasons, that is. So me personally, I'm looking for reimbursement, how everybody's looking for funding. So if reimbursement is not what I can achieve, then it's
Senators, do you have any?
Will that change the total amount if we do a reimbursement? And does that have to be recorded somewhere?
It's accounted for. And you can correct me if I'm wrong, you were only looking for the $450 for the 4 people, correct? So the $1,800 total?
Yes.
Just to make sure. Okay, cool.
Okay, all those in favor of approving the budget, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? Okay, passes.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Yeah, you guys can leave.
Okay.
Save the
Thank you. Have a good one.
You get the big
Yeah, thanks. What do you think? It's been great.
With that, we'll move on to executive updates, and you guys have to
Hello, everybody. So most of my topic today is going to be a political express report, but I just want to update the Senate on the shade structure and some of the model that we had talked about previously. So I met with the architect about a week and a half ago, and we discussed the possibility of shade structure on Taylor Hall. And the original idea was to have solar panels on Taylor Hall, which isn't necessarily the best idea to move forward with, because the afternoon half of Taylor Hall is shaded by 17, and if we do a building parking garage there, that will cover that shade as well. So it won't produce any sort of actual energy from the sun. But what could end up happening still would be a shade structure. So we're looking to do a shade structure depending on whether or not we can find for it. And we are also looking into getting these things that are somewhat solar panel, multi solar panel fan things, or can charge a laptop. So it would be a laptop charging station essentially. So that's a much larger possibility than the other 2 options, just to consider. But yeah, the only other area of data that we have would be in this
So like the shade structure, so if we can put solar panels on it, to like gather sunlight, per se, and like if the parking garage is built near the center, it's already providing shade on the other wall of the shade structure. And all sorts of shade.
Well, I mean, it only half of it is shaded right now, and it's only afternoon. So it might still serve a purpose on the part that isn't shaded at the moment, because there's no firm plans to do anything with the use of the garage. So it still could serve a purpose, it's still within my way too, but for running purposes, it's going to be a challenge, so.
So, this week we forgot to finally get back up to speed on a lot of things. First off, thank you to Mr. Delgado. Fortunately, can't be here back on, but obviously he did a lot of good meetings with the senators. There you have 4 more even on the list. So please, please, please be prepared to meet the legislators whenever you can. And when we come back, we want to basically keep the momentum going with talking to these people and ensuring that they understand and what students are basically wanting from the legislature, what their residents want from the legislature. Because we are moving forward on that. There's rumors, again, the rumors of the State House are always present, but the rumor is Senate will be putting out a draft in the next 2 weeks. And if the Senate's putting it out, the Senate is it's both good for us and bad for us. There are a lot of moderates in the Senate, and there's a lot of people that are very opposing ideologies to us right now in the Senate as well. So we'll see how that ends up turning out. So we're going to be focusing a lot on that. Thank you again to Nessa for that one. Thanks to Nathan, obviously, for keeping up with the University Boards Committee. So we have only pushed that, and we're trying to get that stuff done. But we're going to have a little bit of difficulty again with just overloaded in administration. Which then kind of got into what we're doing so far. We are getting ready to just decentralize as much as we can. I like that we're decentralized because the fact is we only have one person doing something, whether that be appointing our university boards and committees, whether that be sitting here watching the legislature, whether that be even trying to do an event. It doesn't work out that well. So we're going to be pushing out the request to speak a little bit more. We're going to also be asking y'all to actually keep on using it during spring break, because even though we take a break, they do not, which has some fun implications like the fact that the guns on public rights of way bill is now in the Senate. It's a little bit less dangerous than the gun was now, thanks to Larry Moore, but it's still basically something that could be brought on next week if it's amended. And on the good side, we have a few bills that we actually like that managed to get pulled out of the ashes and put into the Senate committees for next week. And we need to be also setting the example, because the week after that is when NAU and UVA go on their spring break. So we're going to have to pull for the extra weight on that week when we're still here. So that's something to keep in mind. Beyond that, too, if we can get more people involved in student organizations and others that we can get lined up in this request to speak, that we can get involved, we would love to have the opportunity to go and meet and talk with these people. We're going to be trying to push that out soon. And that's a big priority. And other things to keep in mind is just we are not going to be saying that we are representing anybody but ourselves for now, because we have a little bit of a bug on legal issues now where in lobbying registration, we could either be a student organization or we could be a university department. Depending on how you define that, it defines how we're actually going to be seen in the eyes of the law, which is also a lot of things. So yes, it's wordplay, but this is legal stuff essentially. And if we end up going out and saying, I represent 11,000 students at ASU downtown, and you're not registered as a lobbyist, that's not a good thing. Unless you're there's a whole bunch of legal. We don't know, we're not going to play it. I don't want to get sued by the state. That's the goal. So, yeah, main focus of that, that's just going on with that, and really just building up the students' infrastructure to keep going after this year a lot. We've done a lot of good things this year, but continue to try to basically, we're going to be trying to work to figure out how we can better design our work to integrate you and other people outside of this room, because in the end, we're going to need numbers. And that's how we're going to get all the fun stuff with money, that's how we're going to get the parking, that's how we're going to get the food. That can only be done with student backing, with student support, and basically making these things something that's a common conversation, and that needs to be purposefully designed, because just throwing numbers at you guys, whether that be the tuition, whether that be the athletics fee, whether that be be anything like that. It doesn't seem to work how it is there, because most of the time we don't get to ask questions, we don't get to have discussions. So send us information on what you think is best. We'll be reaching out a lot to y'all, and you will still get text. And the last thing I think I'll just say to end it, so be a little bit brief for this, is just if a budget or the guns bill really starts moving and we need help, expect calls. Otherwise, remote work is fine. Just send in your request to speak before you leave. You should do it now. But yeah, I know it's spring break, but if those 2 emergency sessions come in, we're pulling as many people as we can just because there is no second option on that. So that's it.
Okay, on to 19, about the midterms.
So I can't remember because I talked about this in the presentation and these are did I update you all? I go through the ASU test campaign that was rated in April and we're going to last. No. Okay, so I go to ASU test campaign. We're still partnering with ASU now, which has been a big help us because they're an actual professional PR entity that can make sure that this goes well. So we're really excited this actually is occurring. What we're going to be doing for university-wide, we're going to ASU now is basically going to come out to events in the last 2 weeks of March at each location. And they're going to have kind of booths set up, and then the student governments at each location are going to help support those events. And then they're going to record basically Snapchat like videos at that events in different categories. So the categories that we have written up are kind of like writing, math, science, theories, humanity, athletics, student clubs, spirit graduation, theater, art, success, service, and volunteering. The idea is that they're going to post these videos when the initiative actually runs kind of under categories. So that way we're hoping that students will have it organized a bit more, but also might be able to resonate with the categories a little bit further because they aren't going to still generalize. And so the idea is that I came here for a science program, and I'm really passionate about the science program, or a specific teacher that maybe I get to kind of participate with, and it's something really cool in the science realm. I would go to the science category and I would have a video for that. And so they're going to come out to our events. They're going to get a passport for Phoenix, PAB Night of Fun and Games, and Pitchfork Awards. So that's what we're going to be trying to get done. I know Pitchfork Awards is in April, but what we're thinking is that we can record those in April. Those videos will have time to be prepped for the end of the initiative, you know what I mean? And then we're doing events at Tempe as well. We're doing grad events, and we're going to try to do some at Western Poly too. So the biggest thing that I'm going to, for you guys to be aware, is that that means that I'll need 1 or 2 staff members at these events kind of help us stay as you know. That's the biggest thing there, and then it's actually going to be running Monday through Friday, April 11th to April 22nd. It won't be running on the weekend, so it'll go just Monday through Friday. And then after that, that's where we're going to be analyzing basically how successful or not successful it was. If it ends up being successful, they actually might start doing this in the beginning of the year during the kind of fall welcomes and doing kind of like I'm going to ASU because, or I chose to come to ASU because. So hopefully this is actually like kind of a year round. So any questions about that? It all makes sense. So there are no what the campaign is. I haven't like explained that.
Is this different from enrollment services radio from Laura Losada?
I don't know. Yeah, it's not connected to that. I don't know if it's like related. Yeah, these are supposed to look like quick little Snapchat things too. Are you guys already on stuff like that? But it's supposed to also give students an idea, but they are going to finally use it for enrollment services eventually too. Students want to sign waivers and they're comfortable with it being used. And then ASU now is basically going to do professional editing actually. It should look really nice. So, any other questions? Library renovations, we proposed our ideas and she really likes them. The biggest thing right now is that it's actually kind of similar to the before I drywall. We're making sure that we work with the ASU marketing team because it has to go with the ASU brand before we put everything up. And so that's kind of our next big step there. As well as I found out that too, make sure that the library that have ideas on what to do in that space and haven't connected with them yet. So we both have separate ideas. So I have to connect with those new people as well and see if our ideas can mesh. And if they're willing to incorporate them. I also what I found is the library is actually trying to look to see if they can financially support our plan. So that would be really helpful as well. So it's all pretty much good news. The other thing too is that we're trying to get Burger students involved as well. If you know any RT students, I know you're RT. If you know any really RT students, awesome at it. If you know any RT students down there too, I want them involved. But we did reach out to the Burger team and whatnot to see if there were any students who didn't want to come part of the project, just so that we have students that literally built up the room kind of with us. We figured it'd be a better kind of that way.
I know we talked about university-wide emails in here, and I wanted to update you on what the decision was with the council presidents. So I wrote a university-wide email for the student program fee. I feel like I got it approved 4 different times, and we ended up not being able to go through with it because we realized that the Gallup poll that you guys heard me talk about a long time ago, that we already agreed on, was counting as one of our 2. We're only allowed 2 per semester, and by tradition, we usually do an ASU student government elections one, and the majority decided it'd be better to do student government elections instead of student program fee. And so that's why you're going to see a Gallup poll email and a student elections email. But just email as the ones we expect. Any questions for that? But I let you know too that we did end up going towards the where we were going to do these over it, but it ended up being because we got the Gallup poll. We thought it was going to get our category and I want to remind you to vote for Pittsburgh Awards. They're due this Sunday, and we have a bunch of downtown entities that are on it, so you really should take the time to end up voting and supporting downtown, and hopefully we can win a bunch of awesome awards at Pittsburgh Awards, so please do that. I got good news as far as the football ticketing goes downtown. Athletics has an actual plan, so I'm very excited. I won't tell you what it was, but I don't know what it is yet. I'm going to use my way, and she's going to go through with me what their plan is, and she wants to gather some feedback from us as far as what we want to see. They're going to ask me some logistics of like how we want the students to be sat. It's going to go back and forth and whatnot, but athletics has a plan that they proposed, so I'm very excited about that. So I'm really hoping this is something we're going to see in the fall of this year when these things are coming to college. So thank you for everybody.
Yeah, so is this ticketing booth strictly for athletics, or will we be able to distribute the tickets there as well?
So as far as the actual physical booth, that's not owned by athletics, that'll be downtown booth. It's the booth that's in the under of the post office. It's right before you go to the DRC on the right. It's a glass covering that has 2 holes. So as far as that space, if PSV really wanted to use that, you could potentially request to use it. I don't know if PSV is going to want to. They could, I guess, if students get used to going to tickets, but I don't see why, because athletics will be that space, so they'll be there off the some other entities. Any other questions about anything? This is not Thanks, Dan.
I'd like to add on to that our very own Korean mascot is nominated for a Pitchfork Award, so you guys should have that one, we want to be director reports starting with staff.
Okay, I'm going to throw some shade.
Oh.
More reports. Gotta do them. Eric Fassbender, who is not here, did not do his report. Ernie.
Did not do mine.
Dude. Sorry, man.
Hello.
Martin.
I was just putting him in the wrong spot. Right spot now.
That's what they all say. You gotta turn yours in all the time. If you don't turn them in by Thursday at 11:59 p.m., bad things will happen to me. Serena will kick my ass. Okay, so another thing, Nestor, good job with him again. Me and him have been doing lots of meetings, and I need senators to show up to those meetings with state legislators. They're going very well. We're going to get the funding, just like Ryan said, I'm hoping. Family dinner we have coming up. What does everyone think about? We're going to probably do somewhere around here after Senate meeting. Would that be in 2 weeks or 3 weeks?
The Senate meeting is right after spring break.
Oh, it's right after spring break. Okay, that's what I thought. So, yeah, we're thinking around that. That's cool. I'll probably put up a poll on the Facebook group, so go vote. Yes, and then we have 3 different types of training coming up. I worked earlier this week with Jay on setting up Robert's Rules of Order. So we're going to do something for that probably in about a month. We also have a sexual health training and a financial literacy training. And there's 3 different categories for that. I'll probably do a Facebook poll. But one of them is personal finance. The other is like workplace money skills on how to like negotiate a salary and read a pay stub and stuff like that. And the other is about, it's your credit, obviously, like I learned a little bit about credit. So I think the workplace money one sounds really cool. So does the personal finance, but I'll let you all decide. It's gonna be lit. Fire emoji and report.
Go ahead. Just to point out, not to like, we have go-up meetings after Senate meetings, so I don't know if you want to stick around and wait while we have our meeting and then go to dinner, or have us like go to dinner.
We could just leave them there.
Or, yeah, you guys can do it at the dinner if you wanted to. But
All night.
But so long.
No, okay. On to Director of Administration.
I just have one quick one, is the business cards. I don't know if you guys saw that the business cards are really happy. I got super excited about that. Other than that, this week has been kind of going on really slow. Hopefully we'll pick up pace once I come back from spring break. That kind of concludes my update for this week.
On to Director of Public Relations.
Oh,
Do you want to show the work?
yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
I think she wants her all's feedback on the passport and marketing. She's on a doctor's appointment right now. So if you have any feedback, I would want to ask that right now, if you have it, to email it to her real quick. But if not, then I'm gonna assume you think it's awesome. I really like it.
Hashtag.
What hashtag?
Okay.
I just had,
Yeah, passport Tuesday next.
Are you guys okay with that?
yes.
Oh. It's kind of bright. And
I like the yellow font for and more. It does.
Actually, Stav said that she tried to copy the ones removed in rice bowl. So do you think one should be next?
Yeah, okay.
I'm not saying.
It just looks, if they were like different lines, those just look exactly like they're like. So it might be confusing that it's downtown. I don't know. Yeah, the geotag.
Trade it for the twirly.
oh, shoot.
Oh, I know.
More parking.
That's how it is.
Yeah. The tornado thing, the cactus thing.
Yeah, actually, that's something that I think Mark suggested to me, but that it takes her a long time for her to make that. Because she would try to like make it to put in there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Instead of like taking an image of like this square. So I think she would want to, I just think it would be different. But you can propose an idea and she figures out a way of searching. So, okay, thank you, everybody. I think that's a great update that she wants to.
Okay, so.
Oh, the other update you probably want is that exec logs are due next Friday. Those are right, you still have to do, you can turn it in early, but they're due next Friday. Okay.
And,
Some senators are.
Yeah, so.
okay, on to Director of Fire.
Thanks a lot. Thank you to all the senators who were at the VAC meeting this Wednesday. It went really well. I'm like, happy to see you guys engage in conversations with the students and start to ask your own questions, which is really awesome. Besides the funding requests, we did have some discussions at the end, one of which was about participatory funding, which I know is critical in deciding what we're going to do with our budget and our money next year. And so kind of what we were leaning toward, and what I believe the consensus was, senators that were there, you can correct me if I'm wrong, that we're leaning towards possibly rolling what the line item for participatory budgeting back into the general budget. And then if there is an initiative or a desire or a need from students that want that money, that we would make like a one-time funding request, pull that out of the pool, and then have that available for them if we decided to go that route. Anyone have any questions? Yes, what's up?
So, thank you guys, by the way, and thank you for asking for feedback as far as the story funding. So I wanted to let you know where I was imagining big story funding and get your feedback on that, and if you feel like that's an appropriate use of it. So right now, my idea is that this is cool. The participatory budgeting that we're doing, I actually have been putting in sports clubs because we have 3 sports clubs here for the first time downtown. We're actually trying to go towards 5. And right now, student government budgets only support 7% of what sports clubs need. So I believe they have my numbers are always slightly off, like 74% is from membership dues, about 20-ish is from fundraising that they do. So I figured actually that we should put the $10,000 towards sports clubs. And then what Jackson and I talked about is that more purposely marketing the fact that student orgs can come to us actually with ideas, not just events. So like a student org wanted to propose the Sunday Express, for example, which is a big initiative that we did, we could have approved that through them kind of thing and actually worked with them on that. And then it's not actually supposed to be restricted where they can't do it. It is a difference in the sense that there's very much was proposing like an election-wide kind of voting system. But so that's what kind of we talked about as well, so that way we could provide some support for sports clubs. So I'm all curious if you were okay with that, because that's what I'm imagining right now is fine.
Can you guys please define what participatory funds are?
The idea, yeah, so basically, it was created as a sort of side project, I believe it's USGD, that would allow for students to come to us with projects or ideas and request funding in order to implement them. So it would basically then allow another level of engagement. The only thing is that the infrastructure for it was never created within our government. So consequently, the money throughout this year just sits out there. That's also, do we like that this year, or is it just?
No, we can still utilize it. We can still utilize it too. But right now, it's just been sitting in the college.
And then basically with that, hypothetical person managing that would then manage the organizations in the sense that they would pick the best ones in a way, and then the students would then vote on which one they wanted to see happen. So, kind of, what change we hear from that?
That's what I thought when you said that.
The big changing component, I think, is the whole student body so kind of understood that would actually be something like that. That's kind of the big difference between what change maker and ours. And that's something that we did discuss too, about how like, right now actually students do have areas to go for funding. Like, for example, I almost don't have a change maker because I really want math on campus. So like I could go through there in order to apply for that. The difference is that students, there will be a student committee that picks that idea, but it won't be like open to the student body to vote on the idea kind of thing. And so that empathy is why I was moving towards the idea of putting the $10,000 in sports clubs, supporting those students that have directly met with me and asked for support. And then if we want to, doing more education to the general student body on the fact that you can come as a student organization to our funding cycle and actually request money for projects or initiatives, not just events. And so you don't have to feel like you're stuck in like an event box. If you feel that way, you can request other ideas, you can request work with us to do that. But yeah, part of the problem we were having is that we need more infrastructure and USGD our support for this career budgeting, and we're not sure who would take that on. We messed with it being possibly another part of Jackson's job, but it's a little bit too much to actually ask the worker clients to take on top of their regular duties. So yeah. So that's kind of how we ended up getting towards this idea of putting it in, at least I got the idea of putting in sports clubs and then advertising to the student body. If we want to, it could be a PBS project next year, let us support us now, you can think outside the box as far as it comes to funding.
So if we give $10,000 to the sports clubs, are we just going to give it to them and they can use it at will, however they want?
So they have their own actual allocation process. They use a tier system, so their sports clubs actually have to meet pretty big requirements actually in order to get a certain amount of money. They have to do certain volunteer hours and all these other requirements. They have to have a certain amount of members of students engaged. So I fully believe our dollars would be used well because they have a system that coordinates well with ours in the sense that we want downtown students engaged, we want the money used well, we want to use it properly, we want them to see different funding sources. Because also the $10,000 unfortunately is immediately in our fund for the downtown boards. It might be line free, but when I was talking to actually the president, they were saying they would actually like to see more dollars, but it's a step in the right direction. It was money that we had. So I also want to know, not just your questions, but if you would be comfortable with these moving forward with that line item.
So if we do allocate money to them, are we still going to be advertising at like student boards come to us with their ideas? And then can we pull from that fund still? Because if you say like, oh yeah, you come with us, your idea, whatever you want to live on campus, and the sports clubs, the $10,000 is where we can pull.
That advertisement would be the general student.
Yeah, because if it was just an organization that wanted to start an initiative, they would
As far as though, if we can move, we would not be able to move dollars from the sports club back to general fund. Unless I met the sports club spring and they were like, we didn't use 3,000, you know, here's it, but I don't see that happening. The sports club thing, and move all the dollars and give them an extra system. So, yeah.
I like to treat it more, and just to use the money. And would be kind of like, we sponsor it, like, co-sponsor it. I don't know, if we just be like, here, trust and take this from us.
The sports clubs or
The sports clubs.
Okay.
So, I mean, we can just go, it would be, it's really just physically supporting them just the same level we do other student warrants. So just like with student warrants, like the general you just approved, we're giving those funds to go to the office, in the same way as the sports clubs. It'd be giving them the entities, except the sports clubs then have their own level, their own system in which they would have $10,000 that they're able to use, but then they would specifically allocate it out to each one. Each sports club different depending on the tier system that they're in. So they would be supported by student government, but just as much as we support student government.
So is this just a one-time allocation, or is it like something that we?
This is for next year, and then it'll be the year after that's choice if they want to continue it, and so on and so forth. The budget can be manipulated as much as the Senate wants every year. So if you guys are like, I really don't want to fund PAP next year, you have to move the very good argument, but all the numbers can always be manipulated in basically any line item. So this would be focusing on next year. Yeah. But I mean, the other thing too is that can set a precedent. Like it tends to be that when we start finding line items, they continue to get funded. So we'll be setting a precedent that downtown funds sports clubs most likely, unless next year we're like, oh, we don't like it for some reason. But I personally see that happening this year. So we have them downtown. Any other questions?
You have a question?
Yeah.
No, I just want to make sure they were
Okay,
cool.
okay.
I know, I'm sorry, I still left with you. But it was a perfect time to ask. Thank you, Jackson, sorry.
Any further questions? All right, so the other piece of the conversation that we had with the VAC was about, I believe, travel funding, the potential bylaw changes that we would implement following my conversation with the university-wide funding director team this morning. And so that happened this morning. It happened in a conference call. It lasted for about an hour. And the main things that we touched on were the travel funds and the ways that our different systems don't necessarily prevent double dipping as of right now. And that's just something that we will need to look into. That's something that can be easily fixed on our end by either A, reaching out to a representative or Tempe's funding chair being, hey, did this organization request funds already? Or B, adding another question to our Google form. And then so with the travel funding, the way that our policy as the downtown campus, the way we fund travel-based organization, that aligns kind of with the Polytech system. We have very similar appropriations committees in the sense that we fund organizations, while West and Tempe, on the other hand, are more on the individual side. So that means that you, in order to have access to their funds for travel, you must have a major at West or Tempe, just based on the respective campus for clients. The reasoning behind that, which we touched on throughout the conference call, is that if it benefits a student from West and they pay their student fee at West, then they should utilize their student fee dollars to pay for their travels, if that makes sense. And so, where in the conversation that we'll be having at an in-person meeting, which I'm super excited about on the 25th of March, the 3 p.m. location is TBA, determining what bylaw changes will be implemented to hopefully align ourselves in the universal policy, which will be really fantastic. Another part of that is something that Eric and I can potentially work on, and that the other directors said they would touch on with their respective kind of directors of technology, is how do we kind of condense all of our spreadsheets, all of our data in a way that's accessible for us. And like, while we are finance people, we understand that spreadsheets can be complicated and we can kind of read through them, but how to make it so that students, staff, whoever wants to look at our spreadsheets can understand them in an effective way. What else? That kind of concludes everything throughout that conversation. The update on funds, we're trending along the way that we did last semester, and at our first few PAC meetings, we've allocated call it like a large sum of money. Like if you include what we just allocated for just now and this week's PAC meeting, we allocated, I think the total was $9,578.45. Comparatively to last semester, our second meeting was actually more at $12,188.29. So with that, so can we roll the participatory budget just in all right. So that means I already accounted for it being out of there. So that means we now have remaining $32,943.80 for the rest of the semester, which means on average we can allocate $8,235.95 to the remaining BAC meetings. And following the trend would be on schedule. Depending upon the first, there would be 4 more, right? Because after the 4th, it would be the finals week. I'm assuming there won't be a BAC meeting 3 times. Yeah. So there are 4 more BAC meetings. And that will pretty much be on track to hopefully run out of time. But at that date, not before. That's the goal. I'll make sure that doesn't happen. So yeah, so I'm having fun. Several. All right, Ernie, that's
How many went up at that point?
3.
Oh, wow.
I just saw you first.
Okay, sorry. How is, I'm not sure if you got to this yet, but updating the video on the website?
Oh, yeah, the video is done. That's just something that I need Eric's help.
Okay.
Yeah. And then another thing that I need Eric's help with earlier this year, I should brought up another point that I've updated and made this new expense table that I'm going to put up on our website so that the board can kind of have an idea of their funding in a way that's much cleaner than what was on the website previously. So that they can see what we're using our student fee dollars for. And then along with that, kind of creating a presentation that's a work in progress right now on what the student program fee is and like how those dollars are utilized. So like taking it down on a mathematical basis. So like per year, a student pays $50, and then taking that and then kind of using the totals that I've gotten this year so far, like, hey, we allocate 58% of our student fee budget, so therefore, in theory, this isn't actual. The actuality of this one is tricky, like I can't track where every dollar of every student fee goes, but in theory, 58% of that $50 will go to PAP because that's based on how our budget is spent out this month. And so on and so forth, like 8% to health and wellness clubs, 4% to cultural and ethnic clubs, and so on. Okay. Mark, you saw I got a question.
Yes. So just for my clarification, so whenever like a student org is requesting funds, that like person just has to be from that campus or the.
So in terms of our policy or in terms of the grand scheme of things, because it gets complicated in the grand scheme of things. I can run through it real fast.
Well, whatever you just went over, that's how I was like, I don't know.
Oh, okay. So the way that it states our precedent that we've been going off this year downtown, so they have to be a registered student board here. That's not actually in our bylaws. That's just something that I've kind of been going off of, just kind of as a general rule. I'm not sure if William followed that last year, but I kind of that it just kind of helps because if say an organization, no matter what campus they belong to, we want the campus that we're requesting funds to be the primary benefactor. So that's why it makes sense. So like an event from downtown wants to have an event downtown, yeah, we can fund it, but if like an event, an organization came to us for funds, like a West organization came to us for an event they want to hold it West, that's why we want to fund it. And so in 10P, this is where it gets tricky. They have 2 separate allocations committees. One is called the Appropriations Committee. They deal with organizational-based funding, so events, promo items, students like kind of what we do. And that's organizational-based. And they have different caps than we do. Ours is much more loose just because we don't have 700 organizations we keep track of. So there is more structure to theirs, which is something we can consider adding in our bylaw changes to certain caps and stuff. We also touched on that in the phone call. But as far as their finance committee goes, that's the committee that funds travel. And then they are done on an individual basis. So they you can only get travel funding from Tempe if you're a Tempe student.
Okay.
And the same goes for West. Yeah. And so that's kind of what we're hoping to eliminate with the potential bylaw changes. Either we go individual or we figure out another solution. Right now, the group as a whole is leaning towards individual. I can see the reasoning behind it. In the next, most likely over spring break, and hopefully after this meeting, if you two are available, talk to you about how you feel about it. Actually, I can just ask, how do you feel about individual travel funding? Ryan, what's that?
So with individuals, we have 4 people going on a trip, we're gonna have 4 funding requests.
Correct.
So do we have considerations for how that's going to increase the amount, or is there going to be ways to simply handle 4 funding requests as individual requests, basically handle it on that? And also within the caps, does we have an organizational-based cap which says that there's $1,800 for a group to go? So does that mean that we're going to continue with $1,800 for one conference, or are we going to not have that as a cap and we still $450?
That's on West and Tempe. The cap is still $450 per person. As far as the other question, yes, it would increase the amount of requests that we would get. Of course, that would be at the discretion of the director of finance. Next year, if they wanted to have those students present as a group for their organization and do it that way, which would be easier because they would, in effect, be listening to the same request for free 2 times, which would be very redundant and would stretch out the EC meetings. I'm sorry, what was the other question?
So we have a cap of 1,800 for a group for a conference. Does that mean, so we've had conferences where we sent like 7 people, but they got capped at 1,800. So does that cap and remain at 1,800 per conference? And then the question with that too is that we use that next cap, there was ways you can skirt around that cap, so well, we'll just start with that. We'll have it come closely. So are we gonna still have $1,800 as a cap per conference?
That's something that I can look into. We didn't touch on that.
I want to think about that because between that and the fact that we have 2 organizations that want to go to the same conference and send people,
Right.
it's a little bit harder with individuals now.
Hi.
So if you have the caps on each organization, how would you know how much money to cap it max? With Cronkite comes in all the time, okay? They're going to all these conferences and events and whatnot, but other student boards can see them like maybe once a year, if that. So how would you determine like where to cap money?
I mean, most likely the way Tempe does it, they cap it based on the organization. So an organization can get, I believe, $750 for promo items per year, and then are eligible for $5,000 of event funding for that year. Travel funding is a little bit tricky. Jessica is the travel finance committee chair, was not with us on the call today, so we didn't get that information as far as if, say for example, the same organization. Ryan probably will have a question on this. Like if it would cross over, if that makes sense. So like if someone wanted and making that policy, whether or not travel would cross over into like their general fund for the request. So like organization support, like promo items, events, and stuff like that, right? Does that answer your question?
So within this too, and with this idea, currently our system is based on no caps for like the travel thing except for 1,800 in these requests. So I'm hearing now that we're considering moving that towards, is that a consideration on the table right now, that we're moving towards the actual caps? Because the one thing I would mention, just for public record, would be that we don't have too much on caps on organizations right now, because to be honest, we're kind of happy with first come, first served, or at least that was the predominant thing in our era, because some organizations would do like 8 events a year, some would do none, and didn't want to cap. One's doing 8 if we can't spend money elsewhere. So is that a consideration on the table right now, or are we still going to keep that as a first come, first served as well right now?
I mean, that was just kind of me saying that we'll look into it, or not what that would shape into. Just because it would cross into the line of like, how would you cap an organization that cross campus bridges? So that kind of mentality like that. Okay. Yeah. But as far as, I see what you're saying, because we are happy with the first come, first served basis, and we don't necessarily need the caps yet, but as their campus continues to grow, it would definitely be something that I would look into because Cronkite is an entity. When I crunched numbers last time, I can pull them up real fast. Everyone does mine. Cronkite is requested from their student boards a total of $27,872.61, which trumps an entire category of health and wellness organizations and social work and leadership professional.
And so my other question too now is this, I don't know if this is clarifying this. We're considering individual basis for just travel, or are we considering individual basis for all funding?
Just travel. I don't know.
So I lean towards just doing the $450 cap for individuals and then try and do it on a first served basis, just because we can have the same thing happen as far as, so if you have, say you have multiple organizations that are trying to go to the same conference, we've had multiple orgs trying to do the same event, and we've been able to deal with that situation without it being directly in our bylaws that like the first two get to go and the other don't. For example, when we had CPR event. We had 12 people trying to do a CPR event. It was like 3 orgs or something all around the same time. And so we worked with the 3 orgs to figure out how to really go together and which ones were going to fund and whatnot. And so in my mind, we kind of work the same way with travel funds in the sense that if we have journalism students that all want to go to this one conference and they're from 3 orgs working with to figure out how we're going to fund, as well as I always lean towards first come, first serve and not caps on orgs because I think that it speaks to the level of engagement of students that if we have very engaged with orgs, we should take away their funding, especially because most of the time we're able to say yes to more people that come. And our system's never going to be perfect where every student's going to get exactly $3 in the sense that then our cap would be $25 per student. So we can't, you know what I mean? And so I just lean towards first come, first serve and have it be on the level of engagement, the level of participation on the org. So, or individuals for travel, so if you have students that are really taking more opportunities, they can choose to come or not. But yeah, because our bylaws are still going to allow us those situations when we have, and you know, there's 3 CPR that's right now, we're taking more, or working with multiple teams to figure it out. I think it would make sense if we did the 450 cap, but still for individual, and just did probably what we thought organizational cap, unless we wanted it to be like if you have 4 individuals coming from the same org, we still don't want more than 4 people coming from the same org, but we still do something like that. That way we make sure we are accidentally funding 25 for the board of the entire exec. So, you know, you can do it that way still.
Jay.
I was just going to say the same thing about, I mean, even with Cronkite, we had a bunch of people from the last PSC meeting who came in to go to that Pac-12, and it was all the same thing. And it's just, I don't think it's fair to put a cap on
one conference.
Yeah, one conference, because you might have multiple student organizations that are trying to do it for different newspapers, so.
So are we thinking of doing probably $450 per individual and then maybe $1,800 cap for the order for the same conference?
Yeah, I'm saying, like.
So it wouldn't be like,
it wouldn't be like
one
the-
to 4 conferences at 4 different times, they would need that, right? It would be the same.
Correct, the same conference with that guy. Yeah.
And then-
And they want to not be, so kind of, Jay, I can see where you're coming from, you want to like, in order to take that, say, for example, like, the Blaze, WCS, and you also request a lot. Cronkite Sports. And say, for example, State Press wanted to go, but we already reached that cap. Went to so much like as the full conference, so we make the conference for that organization, if that makes sense.
Yes, you're not sending multiple people from
From
the
the
same
same board.
organization.
Well, it would be more,
It'd be-
just probably not accessible.
Yeah.
Whatever you guys would decide would be appropriate as well.
Try to make it. Any other questions? Sorry for that meeting. I know.
Okay. Director of Local Affairs will be here. Okay, then we can move on. So, Director of Technology is here either, so. Okay. University Affairs.
Happy Friday, everybody. I have a few updates for you. EAC and UBC just had a meeting today, and we're going to be uniting forces together. So what's gonna happen is they're gonna support UBC interviews, oversight, our selection committee. They're gonna be pretty much just doing everything that I do, but just helping every single capacity, which is gonna be huge. So it's in a sense, what it's gonna do is help sustain it to the next cabinet, hopefully, so that EAC can just help run UBCs that way, conduct all that stuff. One thing I want to mention to senators, just at large, that you all are allowed to serve on these UBCs if you're interested. We still have 6 boards we're trying to fill, and there are other positions within other boards that have representatives that you can also still serve on. So if you're interested, there's 19 total that we can look at. Just you can talk after senator at some point if you're interested. A board we went to today. Ryan and I went down there. We had a lovely time. We camped out in our room together and listened to Rap Beat 5 times. You all got my emails this week about the A board updates and what to look out for. So the district, that whole space out there in Tempe is a go. It was approved by A board, so they should start doing some stuff there soon. There are certain bills that they went over. All the way down, like the important one with the guns, and Ryan kind of already mentioned this, the teeth on that bill have been kind of pulled back and they changed some of the language. So it went from this designation of public right-of-ways being any highway, street, road, thoroughfare, path, alley, or other right-of-way, and they changed it in the bill to say that the right-of-ways have definition to read or other right-of-way is publicly accessible and is established and maintained by the state or political subdivision. And it now excludes university property in general. So that helps remove the teeth, and ABLE decided not to take a position on it because they don't have to right now. But what we are still going to monitor at ABLE and then just us in general is that there are discrepancies still possible with like Orange Street, McKinley out in Tempe, and then just our campus, that, like in general, is all city of Phoenix property. If you think about it, so there are certain things that we need to be, like gun laws as they are right now, they're still in place, and like, we're gonna have like concealed weapons and that type of stuff. But just the language and stuff, we're still gonna monitor and make sure that we're on top of it, and we'll get you all informed for those changes as well. And lastly, for request to speak. I sent out a huge email that I think I updated you all about to we have about 252 people that have opted in to be a part of the email thing. We had 2 people sign up for a request to speak within that. And we're going to just try to keep pushing with that. I'm working with staff right now to make sure that the language with my emails is better, it's straight to the point. For request to speak, Ryan does a great job with his emails and saying, this is what we're supporting, this is why we're supporting it. And if you take 5 minutes after you log into request to speak, it'll make a huge difference for all of us. And really make sure our missions will be what we're trying to do. So, if there are no other questions.
I just wanted to say, like, really good job today, like, showing up to meeting. I know that it was last minute, so just wanted to say thank you. And you too, Ryan. So, awesome.
Thanks, man. Yeah, we knew about it.
But I thought that there was some kind of last minute April meeting. Like,
It was last minute of the week, but we talked about it. So.
Yeah, it was.
Oh, okay. I thought that it was like a day or two. Thank you for being you.
And if there are no other questions, I yield one time.
Okay, Director of Safety is prepared.
We sign up for meetings, talk with them about meetings.
Is that the senators?
Not necessarily, so if you're going to, but we're going to prioritize senators, because we don't have many applications right now. So, still, if we begin that filling shotgun, if you can make a meeting and you're able to do it, just put everything in, and basically at that point, we'll arrange to make sure that no one's doing like 15 meetings in a row. The more of you that do it, the easier it is, because if not, we're just going to continue to call you guys, and you do not want to have robocalls just following you. It works that way. So.
Okay. Okay, on to my report. So, first of all, sorry I'm sick. I'm coughing a lot. It's really bad. But, So, from the Barrett standpoint, the Barrett Honors College Council is like kind of revamping the way it works as far as funding the different Barrett organizations. So now they're making it so that in order to get funding from Barrett, which all the organizations do, they'll have to have a representative go to one of the BHCC meetings. So the people from campuses, other than Tempe, were a little resistant to that idea because they're only in Tempe basically. So the other locations like Western College have little town halls for the Barrett. The first one was, I think, last week. I don't know. But it was for leaders of the different student organizations within Barrett. 3 people showed up. I was one of them. It was great. But basically, it's so that you don't have to go all the way to Tempe every time there's a college council meeting, but student organizations can still get funding. So that's kind of a system. The BHC has been kind of like rocky, I guess, this year. It's been a little confusing, and I think they're really trying to take it up now and try to make it as accessible as possible to other organizations. So that's kind of my update, I guess. Yeah. So that was also the very update. Oh, well, we're hopefully appointing one next Senate meeting, for another very similar, so they'll have another update then, but yeah, we move on to Thursday.
Hi guys, I'm Fred. Okay, so I'm working on the outdoor suite with Ethan and Ryan. And so far, I've looked at the spreadsheet that's been created for feedback from students. And so I'm not sure if we're just using that spreadsheet or if we're gonna like revamp it, make a whole new one. I'm not really sure about that yet, but I'm proceeding. The other thing that I'm looking into is the ID. And so I basically have gone to admissions and like student services, and they have no idea like where the fee comes from, like where the direct fee comes from. So basically, I'm going to start with talking to one of the professors that I know, Professor Spear, and see if she has any idea of like the faculty that delegates where the fee comes from and why the fee exists. And then I also plan on working with Jackson after the break on the biology with the BAC. And then I also looked into the further academic advising for, I'm not sure like if it would be an intern, but somebody to do the graphic design for all of our events. And so the main question from them was, are they able to put, like the student creates whatever advertising, and are they able to like put their name on it, like poster or like created by whoever on the advertising? This is really no, just like in general, because if we were looking for somebody who's doing graphic design, so like for the passport thing, it's like they could have just created that. Are they able to put their name on that as well? I mean, that was their main question.
Yeah, we've never had anyone ask that. I mean, I don't generally see too big of a problem with it. The only weird thing though is that like usually like our records are taking uniform stands with USGD, so it's interesting to me why they wouldn't. You know what I mean? Like we wouldn't be saying that their work is just ours, it's still their work, but they would be representing USGD, just themselves too. So,
right. So the other question of mine would be like, would they be in
It's not uncommon for faculty to ask for design. Is it a student interest? And I think exactly what's happening here. So one thing like we see a city bus wrap, they put the artist's name on the bus wrap. That's basically that they donate the artistic design and have their name somewhere on that. We still have usually go as a logo on it. It's basically meaning if they're going to put in actual artistic work. Well, credit, it's not going to pay much for anything like that. So it's
so that was my question is, would they be considered like an intern as like part of USGD, or would they just be like the outstanding like artist?
it's whatever, honestly, whatever entity they want to take on. We would welcome them as a graphic designer intern if they end up getting basically a staff. because they look sad, they're sad, I feel for them as an intern. If they're just active students who donate art to us, then that's fine. But yeah, no, I'm sorry, if it's just a signature at the bottom, I'm fine with that. So, yeah.
I don't really know how I feel about this. What's the major?
It would just be like, it'd be advertising for murder, either advertising. So I know a friend wanted to use it in a class, and she said that a lot of people do this. Or like if a company needs like a logo created, they usually go to her advertising and they write up like a flyer for it, and the artist gets to put their name on the bottom, and it's advertised. And I feel like previously in a couple meetings that you mentioned that we were looking for somebody in graphic design to do this.
I mean, generally, I would say no. Just because, I mean, anytime you have like in your lives when you're an employer of someone, any work that you create for that employer is like property of the employer. So I guess it would just depend on what situation.
I mean, really, and we probably are comfortable with using the supervisor. I'm personally comfortable with it just because we are like an employer, but we're also trying to make sure students have a portfolio, and so I would be okay to use that for their portfolio and say it's theirs.
Even if their name's not on it, they can use it for their portfolio. I use all of my work that I make for USGD in my portfolio. Like, because it's yours. Like, no one's gonna dispute that, but having like a name on it might look a little tacky depending on what it was. So that's just my own personal preference is, if it was like more of an artistic design, maybe, but if it's like a passport flyer, like it would just look to me.
To know something, that was their main question for us.
They could use it in their portfolio and it would still be considered their work, but generally when you do work, I know I'm not an employer, but if you're doing for an entity, it's like property.
I mean, also, we could possibly have them on our website somewhere where we say that they design stuff like that, where we would be giving them credit, but at the same time it's on the website, not on the flyer.
I'd also like to add what Jade and what Karina said, giving them the opportunity to build on what they're doing, and then giving them credit for that as well, somewhat. So I like the idea of the website.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if you, I can see where it would look tacky if you just had a student's name on it somewhere, but giving them credit somewhere on our website, and then allowing them to use it.
So for this week, I was working with Emily, our current intern, on working on Earth Day market stuff. So we made a list of vendors that we could start contacting, and we can split it down the middle of like who wants to contact what. And today I contacted Chipotle, Radish, Nectar, and then I'm going to contact Chop Shop and Jamba Juice next. And Chipotle gave us some coupons that are not in free burritos. The only limit is 18, so I'm going to talk to them on the 10th and see if they can give us more. So that way, like each location bigger now, so maybe like everyone will give us more. Radish is like a salad place if you don't know what it is. It's like in just a little place, and with our budget, we'll talk about that more, like the details for that. But other than that,
Okay, on to College of
What a week. I just wanted to give a shout out to Adele for the business cards. I'm really excited. Also, I went with Ryan and Mark to go to see one of the representatives, so that was fun about funding. Also, I met with College Council today. We were just talking about, or one person from College Council, talking about like trying to get more students involved within the College Council and like to see, trying to get more people like, I guess more dedicated people in these roles that are currently being held by people. Also, I scheduled a meeting with Assistant Dean Leeds about doing like a transfer, because she talked about like doing different transfer initiatives. So like her and I'm gonna meet with her so I can tag along with that. That's basically what my week's gonna consist of. Yes, I yield.
What I did this week, a few weeks ago, Karina asked, she came in the office and Lindsay and I went there and she asked basically if we can basically go about a review committee for GPSA. They have a graduate research grant. So Lindsay and I.
Sorry, I'm trying to do a quick correction. It's not GPSA's grant, it's the athletic fee grant.
Okay.
GPSA helps us in grant, it's
So
actually
it's
like
not
all of our grants. So that we're giving out to students.
Okay. No worries, thank you guys. So yes, it's not GPSA, but I am working with a representative from GPSA. And basically, I had to review those grants for them. So Lindsay and I did that. We got feedback from it. It was very good. We're one of the few campuses that actually did it. So Lindsay and I were very proactive on that.
Thank you both so much, seriously.
Yeah. So that's done with. Password to Phoenix, I've been working with Bryce a lot on that. We both extended the deadline for student forms to RSVP, so that will be next Friday during the spring break. Currently, we have about 12-ish student forms. I say ish because some of them are repeats within the RSVP list. But other than that, we want to have at least like 15 student forms, which we really good for passport. For EAC today, we did more birthday market planning. I got updates from the senators who were there, and they're doing really good with communicating with the different vendors and stuff like that. Jay will be working with Whole Foods. The week when we come back, we'll be meeting with the Whole Foods representative just to see their take on it and see what they can bring to us. Braden is no longer with us, unfortunately. He's still part of our flea market. He got free lemonade from Flower Child, thank you. So they'll be sending 2 reps of lemonade, so that's confirmed already. We have the Chipotle coupons, so that's awesome. Yeah, so we also had a representative from Sustainability in Tempe. They came out and they basically wanted to be transparent with us with the whole Earth Day market planning. So we'll be on a few of their flyers. And she's just giving us ideas about it too, and how to go run it. We do know that the School of Nutrition, they will be doing a nutritional event during the same week that we're doing our Earth Day market. So that's nice because I did want a nutritional aspect within that, but I did think that our Earth Day market was not really geared for that. So I'm happy that we have something for the downtown campus within that. Also, EAC did kind of look at our table bill that we have. That will be brought up at the next Senate meeting. We'll be talking about that. Also, Nathan, I'm not sure if you talked about himself in question, but Nathan is in charge of the UBC, and External Affairs Committee will help him with the interviews, and we'll be the point of contact within that, for that representative, so they can give us updates. We can invite them to Senate, and they can give the whole student government updates about what those committees are doing. I think that that's really important because they're actually the voice that are going to those meetings, and we really haven't had many updates besides Marianne and I from public safety and public transit and parking. So I would really want that to be pushed forward, and we'll be helping him with meetings for interviews and stuff like that. Other than that, that's what I've been doing this whole week. We had our chili chat with Dean Capel and Dean Leeds with their college council that went very well. A lot of the questions that were brought up were all academic questions. So it was basically advising, why do we have a hold? I can't register for classes. I'm a merit, but still I have a hold on that account and basically my advisor. So we kind of got that worked out. Some of the schools within our college, unfortunately, they all work, the way they do advising is different for each school. So I know that social work, the wait list for that was like a month out, and they weren't able to get that pulled off until they see the advice for that month. And unfortunately, that's really, really too late. So, so that's we kind of addressed that to our deans, and they're working on it in the School of Social Work. because we don't want our students to not have availability for classes. It's really active. Other things, we have a policy center that will be coming up next semester. So we have a director for that already in place, and he's working on logistics of how to just build that up. Once Santa Fe O'Connor Law School is here, they'll find a better place for that policy center within the College of Public Service. They're still working on that right now. Other than that, I yield. Any other questions?
Yes. So the social work list is out the first. Can we talk about the social work student organization? Oh, man, social work students. We have that organization. They are also not organization, correct?
Director for the center policy.
No, for the school.
School social work, yeah.
What way is this?
So this wait list is basically a list for advising appointment. So it's like, we'll put you on the bottom of that list to see your advisor.
I know, I guess I'm just curious what, if there are specific programs, because I was able with an advisory appointment last week, I think they got some. So I'm wondering if there is some special program or some special advising unit that maybe that's the problem, just because I want to make sure that we're trying to solve the right thing. And because I know I was able to do more.
The students who expressed it, they were freshmen within the project-based modular learning group. So we were able to fix that within our local group. We had an advisor to us. But Dr. Lane's associate dean for our college, she is working with the school social work and could help their work working on that. To basically get that list out of the way, because for the School of Public Programs, there really isn't much of a wait list. So I did not experience that problem, but other students did. So the advising for each school, they go about it a different way, and it's not all the same. So we're trying to get that working out. Are there any other questions regarding advising? And I have Brian back to your question. If you said anything to go, I have not asked you to tell yet if there are any changes within your student.
Have not.
Have not yet. No.
Okay, on to the project. Okay, so just I was going to touch on board reports, but Matt did that for me. I just wanted to make a reminder, and we might, Lauren and I will probably have a discussion about issuing scribes, which I don't want to, but now I've sent out reminders to upload the board reports in the right places, so, and I'll continue to do that, but I feel like I should now. So then Mark also talked about the Robert's Rules of Order refresher training. I think that would be really good for all of our new members as well as our old members as well who were there for the fall training. So we might do some type of training maybe on a Friday morning so where everybody can come refresher. Other than that, I attended this until 18, which was finally doing that today. Oh gosh, I'm sorry.
It's a pretty light week. I'm sponsoring Senate Resolution 29. A lot of help from Ryan, thank you very much. And I got in contact, or I emailed CHS about getting the results from the Medicaid survey for Lauren Freeman. And so hopefully they get back to me next week, or we can have spring break. So we can make these results. So that's it.
Yeah, so in response to the question before, just so you know, I can usually ask your colleges, but president programs depending on any programs that you do anyway. So you should still ask your colleges, but like we have to back in this new way.
Okay, and now to the Sunbelt Express update.
This is we kind of read this just a summary of the January and February of the service, and it's not like two recommendations today, but I'll talk about that a little bit. So for January and February, as far as the Sunbelt Express goes, the weekday route saw about 0 to 10 riders an average day. So for the most part, those ridership numbers were between 2 and 5 each per day. And then as far as the weekend goes, the lowest in January and February there were 18 riders, and the highest there were 78. But for the most part, the numbers were in the 70s.
So as far as student feedback goes, it was pretty much the same as what we got all of last semester. We really appreciated the target. Very similar feedback. I don't know if Ariana wants to jump in, she did some sort of thing.
Mostly it was just like we divided more with lunch target. And I know that also, someone told me about like a substitute for a state program. So instead of having two different routes, just switching over to target altogether and eliminating. Because like she was saying, when she gets her groceries from target, not so. That's fine.
So that's kind of the general consensus on some of the express right now. Like I said, I don't have any suggestions today, but I will be working with the next weekend after the elections occur to figure out what to do and what to move forward with. It doesn't necessarily seem like there's a while. And so it's kind of done over now. So we'll discuss that further as this semester goes on. Next year.
When we're asking if the students would write in more if it goes to Target, are we also telling them that we do have a playground that goes to Target? Maybe they don't know.
I think they do know the playground goes to Target. I think there's still the concerns that we discussed with the playground and that it's not, I feel it's unsafe for people and that it's challenging carrying a bunch of groceries from the light rail to downtown.
Okay,
So I think those are the same, similar concerns that we've had before. They're absolutely worth noting if we decide to move forward with the service, or if we decide to do with us in Valley.
Also, we weren't like asking if we wanted to go to it, that was just.
Yeah, that was never a question posed, is to want to participate. So that was definitely, that's not good.
Okay. The way Ariana put it, I think they're just.
No, we don't ask that question.
So, I know in years past that, so before the Sun Up Express was the Sun Up Express, there was the state control. And the idea behind that is that you can't totally disband that service because when the administration promised safety, you just can't get rid of it next year. So kind of a plan, if the data is inclusive that the Sun Up Express is no longer cost efficient, kind of what next year's service will look like, or is that something you're still looking at?
So I think essentially the issue with last year was that it was something that had already been promised to incoming students, that there would be the service in place. So if we can figure out early enough that that's not something that we want, we can ensure that administration is not making that promise, because it's not something that we will guarantee. And it, some token, that was money that was put in place by administration for this particular service. So if that's a line item in our budget again next year, it might be removed, but we also need to be responsible for the service of administration.
So with that, just for information for context of the group, stopping the breaks, this is an item that if we did not do it, then we're going to pull $26,000 of the budget. Given the fact that we're actually doing this budget, we should be talking about this probably, or at least thinking about this, because I know this has been a long meeting now. Because when that budget comes out, and we put this on a separate level, because there's tiers. The participatory budgeting was just a little bracket for around $10,000 in the general fund. The $26,000 was secured as separate funds. So this works the same way with PAB. $116,000 was on a separate fund that was taken off the top. And if you basically went below that, that extra money would go back to the university. The same thing happened with Sunbelt Express. And so between that and the fact that you all are the only ones that will have the data for the most part, unless every single one of you comes back, there will be new people that will have no idea what this is, data-wise, no idea what the benefits, the community debate, anything that can happen, just like this last summer, and you'll have to make that decision over summer. It would be very smart to have this group provide its guidance as to whether or not this service is beneficial or not, especially if you want to begin something where promises are made and we have to keep up with those promises, when those promises are not made by students, but utilizing student fee money. It doesn't make too much sense to be allowing others outside the student body to be deciding what student fee money should be used for, but that's what happens when we don't take any actions.
Okay, so that just kind of goes back to my point, this is a discussion that we have to have. Yes, it's a discussion as well. So it's that's all. Unless there are any questions.
Okay, on to this.
Okay, so this is just a discussion, you're not working today, so don't get all stressed. So you kind of scared when she said that. So one of the reasons why I'm doing this is because you are supposed to be officially voting on a recommendation. The timeline right now is on Friday, you come back from spring break. So one, I wanted to use this time for you to ask me all the questions you have as far as the potential increases to program fee, as even if I don't know the answers, that way I have time to give you the answers that you need. Why is he laughing towards you? What's going on?
This facials.
The other thing I wanted to talk about too was what I'm imagining that downtown will request of the increase in the student program fee if it goes through, just so that I make sure that I start the conversation now. I started it this week as well, so you guys are pretty much starting with me. So that way you're included throughout the whole process and also can advise me. So first, let's start with what, I don't know which one's going to be the simplest, but let's start with as far as the potential $5 increase in the student program fee and the plan for you to give me a recommendation to vote yay or nay on it the Friday after spring break. What questions do you have, what feelings do you have, what concerns do you have, anything there? Just so you know, by the way, we have over 300 students that have so far been collected on our feedback system, and if all the centers continue to strive to reach quotas, as well as I'm still reaching out to students over Facebook over the break. I reached out to 50 plus students today that I'm waiting to hear back from, and will continue to go up. So
for the student fee money, does that go by where your major is at, like where you're?
So it's not directly allotted by where your major is. So it's not exactly a perfect thing of like if there's 14,000 students, there will exactly get $25 times 14,000.
Okay.
Which is actually good because it can end up meaning that if we ignore engagement, that's how we request more. The way the student program fee works every year is that the council and presidents work together to basically see if we're going to increase or decrease the funds that we have. So for example, downtown next year said, okay, I'm not getting a huge influx of students, but I have 20 active student orgs that need more funding, and maybe Tempe didn't have as many active students orgs. I'll ask Tempe to maybe give me $20,000, $30,000 from their budget that might not have gotten utilized and put it in the downtown budget. So it's not that perfectly kind of drawn out. I mean, it does end up working in the sense that Tempe is very large and has a very large budget compared to us. We're the second largest campus, but actually works kind of like our funding works, where it's on kind of the student engagement aspect, and the presidents will be requesting funding increases depending on their student engagement at their location. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's okay if it doesn't.
No, that makes sense. It's just kind of.
In a way, though, I actually kind of like the system in the sense that means that we have incredibly active students. They get the dollars they deserve instead of just if you have a number registered at your location, especially because while we all represent downtown students, we know how fluid that is. Like I technically am a Tempe and a downtown student, even though I call downtown my home, downtown will always be my home. So it's like, it couldn't be perfect anyway. Like where would mine go? Would we separate my fee in half?
Yeah,
Would that go better? It's a good question though. Okay, what other questions? I also, by the way, I guess to be very blunt, one of the reasons why I'm asking is because sometimes Senate's, when they're doing a recommendation on a big thing like this, will go, oh, we didn't get enough student feedback, I'm gonna table it. So if you don't feel we're getting enough student feedback, I need to know now, because we have 2 more weeks to try to help us get more. But if you're comfortable with it, then I also need to know that we'll continue the process of what we're doing. So that's also partly why I wanted to bring this up, because that does happen sometimes. And I want to make sure Senate tells me that early rather than the day that I would like us to make a vote with you all.
How has that feedback been, like, how was it from our last slice for advice?
How was it? Yeah. Oh, okay. So far we have 209 students that are for. We have 73 students that are against. And we have, we have 45 students that are in other. Other is either they are actually completely neutral, or they have more questions, or on a certain stipulation they would vote yes, or stuff like that. The cool thing about our spreadsheet, by the way, guys, is you get the quantitative as well as the qualitative feedback. And you have the staff member that collected it most of the time, so you can ask them for more information. So when I collect my feedback, I actually don't. So I do this awkward balance where I actually don't tend to give students, I answer students' questions directly, but I'm not going to thank them. So if a student responds and goes, I don't like the way our fees are getting spent, no, I would just accept that. I don't argue with them and say, well, the fees are getting spent well. So these are supposed to be really good raw feedback from our students. Because I tell them, you're not going to get a lot from me because I'm trying not to sway your opinion. I want to know genuinely how you feel about this. So, yeah. So right now, the majority is supporting. That could technically shift, but that's where it is for the present. Does that mean that you guys are pretty comfortable with the way it reflects the feedback? You're really happy with it? How are you guys all looking at the quotas? Don't forget the quotas. Yeah.
I find that a lot of times when I reach out to somebody, you mostly, I've already reached out to them.
Gotcha.
And I do think that it takes a lot of time to go through and control time, see if they've already said that, rather than just go down the list.
So I guess one way that I've done it, which somehow has been able to not conflict with people you have already asked to, is that I actually been doing this thing where I'll go to a Facebook event, that's a downtown Facebook event, like I actually just used the Dean Capel one. This morning, I messaged everyone that was invited to the Dean Capel event. And I just said, hey, you want to do this, blah, blah, blah. So like, that might be a good way to do it, because that means I might not be their mutual friend yet, because like I wasn't friends with anyone at the Dean Capel event, I was friends with like 10 of them. I was also then able to add them all, so that all these downtown students can see my posts. But that might be a good way, if maybe you find a downtown Facebook event, and also too, then you can see if I'm a mutual friend, it'll come up. If I'm not, then I have contact with you. But I do apologize that Lauren and I have been in communication. Lauren's very cognizant of the fact that you guys are having some trouble, not because you're not trying, but because we all have the same social circuit. So your center presidents are very cognizant of that. We are talking about that, figuring out further. But I would encourage you to try and even maybe that Facebook event rather than that. So, yeah.
So I can have to take issue with Jade. I'll be trying, and especially like just hang out in the lounges as well. And then people walk by and just ask me like, oh, are you whoever?
Yeah.
So how would you suggest? So that's a lot of people like in Taylor, because I feel like is a targeted group, and there are a lot of times the ones who go to the downtown events. So how would you suggest? Outside of Taylor, that individually like walking up to people so in a very efficient way.
So one of the ways that I know, so this could be people outside Taylor, this could be just Taylor Place. Bryce was super effective at the pool. That you can come back. Obviously, this is a great network. But honestly, like I set this out, he had 35 in 1 hour. Like he's like, you're not doing anything, so people don't mind talking to you. So actually, if you all want to utilize the pool, he might be like, this is terrible, but.
Those that live in Taylor, that's the problem. Okay. So a lot of them.
Yeah.
I'll be completely honest. Where is this document at?
So it's in big letters, it says main collection of student feedback, and it's in our drive, but I can even share it.
Share on our page? The spreadsheet was on the next one.
That wasn't the actual spreadsheet, though, that was the other one. I
don't know, it had a lot of responses on it.
I know they got moved over. The one you guys need to look at is the one that says main. There's another collection sheet that got moved over to as well.
So is that coming from the surveys that you have that automatically post there, or are you like copying and pasting them?
Abdel is a wonderful staff member who copy and paste them for me. Ryan, do you have someone?
Understood. You can go to classes to be clear than the professor.
Yes, very
That's
good.
shot. That's literally your best shot. Most of the computer students tend to end up coming down here for the classes and leaving. So you got very few options.
Off of that, really good idea. You can also email your classes. Sometimes teachers disable it, but you can go to tools, email, and then click all users or all student users, and you can email all the students there. And then you could either give them that form, or you could say, email me directly with your feedback, or say your feedback. So, yes.
So I know like the Mercado building, no one ever really goes over there, but there's a ton of people that go there. Well, Ryan and only one. But yeah, so I feel like going over there, like making a trip there, or even in the Arizona Center, there's so many students walking through there because they have to walk from there to the Arizona Center. I feel like that's a good idea because like the Arizona Center is also where all the professors' offices are too. So like it's a good place to go. The students go there for office hours. So it's a really good place to start. Thank you.
Questions, comments?
Yes. So the ones we did for slides to revise, some of those counterparts are.
Yes, Abdel, again, is awesome. Yes. Oh, she did the paper ones, Abdel did the electronic ones.
Yeah.
Sorry, yeah.
I was gonna say with the slides for advice stuff, there might have been a lot of those that you didn't write your name on or somebody didn't write their name on, because and then that doesn't count for the specific staff member that put it in. Or like, yeah, because we're getting answers for that.
Yeah, I asked Karina about this because I know I talked to a lot of people on like
who would go back to laptops and stuff like that. And
I just put it under,
yeah, so we were thinking that whoever did go to Slice for Advice and like wasn't working on the paper or like wasn't writing their name down or whatever, we're thinking that for every half an hour you could say that you got 5 to 10 students. Just on average. Yeah.
This has only just come to me in the last few weeks of just noticing things and hearing these conversations. You table a lot on Taylor Mall and solicit feedback, but that, for all intents and purposes, is a thoroughfare. Have you ever thought of getting your tent and setting up shop outside the front door of USENT and on the Polk side and getting people as they're waiting until the shuttles are coming off when they're waiting there for 15, 20 minutes at a time?
Yeah, but that's what you would say.
But that's not like, oh, I don't have time for you, I gotta go to class. You can call BS on that. Like, no, you're seriously just staying here. Throwing that out there.
Just write the shadow.
That's very good. Only for assessors that are concerned about the quotas though, if you do take a shuttle to any of the campus, just go there early, then from that 10 to 10:30, you're gonna have 10:30 shuttle that whole time talking to the student.
Plus, if you set up shop after 10, that's shade for people.
Yeah.
Providing a service and getting feedback.
When you approach people in person, how do you get their feedback? Like, how do you get it word for word? Do you have like?
So what Bryce did actually is that he ended up actually just pulling the document up on his phone and then typing it in there. Honestly, it's gonna be whatever you prefer. So you can have a piece of paper, you can write your name and then write down your feedback. You could type it in your phone, you could record it if you're comfortable with it. Most of the time though, I mean, I would suggest like trying to type it in your phone while you're talking or doing the paper thing. The only thing you have to do copies of the paper, you don't have to spend time later add it in there or ask you to
Is that what you just said, like, how do we get counted towards that? Like, we do it online?
If you do it online, if you're typing it yourself, you'll just put in your staff name.
You have access.
Okay.
Yeah, so most of the time, your feedback would be typing it directly in there for the student. And that's what's called main collection of student feedback. That's what you're actually looking at when it comes to your decision as well as inputting your feedback in there. And then the only other thing I guess I want you all to be aware of is that to never assume that a person is supporting against your neutral. I always ask on Facebook if I website I should include them in. Especially when students say like something like, oh, I really don't think we should pay more, but it sounds kind of good. So what's your answer? Yes. So just make sure to ask them directly. We never want to assume. We never stand a student's opinion. We always want to ask them. Is there something? Jackson?
Yeah, I'm sorry that some of the feedback forms do not have staff members on it. I feel like the majority of the meetings.
No, that's okay.
Sorry. That makes sense.
No, that doesn't hurt the senators. You're fine, Jackson. You understand. Get out right now. I'm just kidding. Any other questions from senators, comments, concerns? You all feel pretty good about this vote that I need you to make when we come back on Friday? Yeah? Feel pretty good? So I guess too that now you have some other ideas on how to do your quotas. So hopefully those will either help things working. If you have your concerns, so just let Lauren know. I'm sure Lauren's going to help you, and I'm sure she'll contact me, so I'll help you too. So, yes.
You just strike, you don't need quota.
That's absolutely your set, isn't it? Okay, are there any questions as far as that? Okay, so the only other thing I want to ask for the student program fees, I want to explain to you how I'm kind of going about right now actually the increase. So if there's an increase in the student program fees, if of the $5, if it approves by simple majority of the council presidents, it'll be a revenue of $600,300 for next year. That means that the locations have to split up $600,300. I want you to be cognizant of the fact that the numbers I'm referencing is not just money that's going to go directly to our pot because it's going to affect PAB, sports clubs, and child care subsidies, stuff like that, depending on if the Senate ends up approving the budget and so on and so forth. But what I'm right now imagining is requesting $85,000 of the $600,300. Because if you do 14,000 times like $5, fairly running kind of estimate, that's about $70,000. And that was basically the low that I was going towards, the idea of if a downtown student gave me $5, I would then do the it to Western Poly. I want it to go directly back to us, so making sure that's our minimum. And then I'm requesting actually an additional $15,000 to potentially go into a student outreach line item. Because actually Jackson and I were having a conversation, and Tempe has kind of like a student outreach section that's all their student engagement stuff. And I think that part of the reason why we can't crack that is student engagement is because sometimes we don't have the funding to do all that we want to do. So for example, with the student open forums, with the student open forums, we would have loved to offer food in those, but I was trying to keep them as cheap as possible. But it would have been great if we could have offered food, because then we would have more student engagement. So what I'm proposing is also that we get $85,000 from the increase, but then $15,000 goes from the student outreach budget, which then I'm hoping related to where we can use slice for advice on a bi-weekly basis. We can meet and greets at least monthly, not more regular. We can offer bagels on Wednesday mornings at 9 a.m. A very consistent program that students can always come to. That's really intended, but I want us to be able to do it. So the exact kind of idea, like I'd like us to have some sort of budget that we can go to that's for student engagement, as well as, to be honest with you, it was a way that I could easily articulate an argument to request more funds than what would be the number of students that we have. And that's my idea on it. But I want to know if you guys have other ideas for, projects you want us to support, and you'd like me to request more, if you're comfortable with that number or uncomfortable, and also with the budget we have. And also too, by the way, that would be PAB would get an increase from that, sports would get an increase from that, childcare subsidy support would get an increase from that. And we took, by the way, in this current fee, as a fee at the same in the fee without it, we made a budget without an increase and a budget with an increase. We took $5,000 from the bike co-op, if you all would be comfortable with it, because they're not using the money. So we're increasing something else, because that doesn't make sense. They're not using it. So we should use it somewhere else. So that's a good thing. You're good with that? Any questions? Okay, if you guys have other questions for us as student feed, please reach out to me and talk as a group. I obviously I cannot force you to end up voting on the 18th, but it is very, very important to me. As if you can vote on March 18th, the date that we talked about, you feel comfortable going for a resolution. You made recommendations that we can move forward with the timeline we proposed. So yeah, just let me know what you need throughout this whole process. Yeah.
So because this is a university-wide vote, in a way, and we already know Timothy put this up once and got taken.
Yeah.
Are we assuming that if this Senate does not vote on March 18th, that the other four will have voted in such a scenario, if 3 of those people vote, will this be automatically a victory for the passage?
So I assume that the others are going to go with their votes because that's the current timeline, as well as the presidents are doing what I'm doing, where we're going to our locations before the final vote and asking what questions you have, what concerns you have to prepare the stuff before the vote. Temp was trying to actually go quicker, but they ended up kind of doing what we ended up doing too. As far as if that happens, what I would end up proposing to CUP is that we push back the timeline. It'll be a hard conversation for me because I might feel like already all the other locations have stands and I am going to stand by my Senate. But that would be what I would go to CUP requesting, saying, I really want to know what the downtown students feel. My Senate hasn't recommended what the downtown students feel. Are you guys okay if I do an emergency Senate session to then push this along and then have a standstill?
So is it possible to say that barring communications with other locations, to prevent basically all the others having, or at least 3 of them having these votes, that if at least those 4 have their votes, we could potentially not end up voting that regular?
It's technically impossible to start. Any questions about anything else? Okay, thank you all so much for the help with student program fee. I have been actually really happy with the way it's going. It's funny, I know you all are having issues with students telling you that, but I have the same issue where students are saying, oh, someone else already talked to me, someone else already talked to me. I'm really happy about that. This is one of the first campaigns we've done where I walked into like different classrooms and stuff and said, how many people heard about this? And actually it seems like the majority are raising their hand. So I am very happy about the work that's been happening, so please keep it up. Our students seem to be happy with the fact that they do feel heard. So let's make sure that they continue to feel heard and end the campaign and so on. So, okay, cool. Thank you for letting me do that. It's very helpful.
On the legislation. Okay, Senate Bill 18. Yeah, so this was proposed a little while ago, but this is basically just redefining outside office hours. This was for the reason that the current
Title I, Article 2.1, Section C says senators must hold 2 hours monthly on Taylor Mall or in a similar outdoor public space on the downtown campus. Hours can be consecutively or complete an hour at a time. The reason that we did that is because I think that a lot of us can agree that we hold our outside office hours, we interpret it outside of the USGD office, not outside. Like we're in Starbucks or First Amendment Forum or places like that. So it would be amended to say senators must hold 2 office hours monthly outside of the USGD office in a public space on the ASU downtown campus. As opposed to. Yeah. But this one does need to be amended. The one that's on the website says December 4th. It's not December 4th, it's March 4th. And then that's what this was proposed originally, but then the sections, like the formatting was off, so we tabled it. And then it says 8th regular session, that needs to be changed to 12th. And then the points that the formatting needs to be changed. So in the original document, it says 2.1b. It needs to say Title I, Article 2.1 sections.
Would it have to change from ninth government to like ninth legislator, excuse me, or just government language?
It's that's a formality. Right.
It should be.
Legislative. But the one that you guys are all on right now is the amended one. The one that's actually on the website that we would need to change is the it's the one on the website. So it'll say like December 4th, 2015, 8th regular session. So how do we go about changing all of Yeah, just say I move to amend. Okay, I move to amend that ninth government is changed to ninth legislative. You are. Okay. And then 8th regular session is moved to change to 12th regular session. December 4th, 2015 is moved to change to March 4th, 2016. 2.1b on the first line would be Title I. Title I, Article 2.1. Is there a second?
I recommend that we still talk about one more point, very bottom, and some change to 2.1b to.
Oh, right. Okay.
So you don't amend the section.
The other point where it says be enacted from 2.1b to Title I, Article 2. Okay, is there a second on all those amendments?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor of approving those amendments, say aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, so the bill is amended to move it. I'll have a copy of it from Jay so that you all know the website. So if there are any questions.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor of approving the amended Senate Bill 18, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, that passes. And what is this? Okay. On to Senate Resolution 23, which was vetoed via presidential signing because there was an incorrect Senate bill number listed within the document, so that has been changed. So if you guys go on the new version, that is amended version would be correct. Number one. So we already technically it passed through the Senate, but it was vetoed because it was incorrect. It's the one it's the one on the website. Right.
We're gonna need to make a formal amendment just so we have an act, no one actually has a That's for your viewing. the current bill, so we'll say Senate Bill 2230, of which Senate bills only have 1,000, so. So the actual line on the bills, it was 51, there's amendments, there's not already for the actual language. So it's like,
Okay, so you're gonna say, someone's going to make a movement to strike and replace on line 51 in Senate Bill 2230 with House Bill 2033 in order to identify the correct bill in reference to the post 9/11 veterans education. Okay. So all those in favor of moving to strike and replace line 51 with House Bill 23, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, so it's amended now officially with the correct House Bill 2033.
Yeah.
All right. Any other questions? Okay, all in favor of approving the amended Senate Resolution 23, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any? Okay, any abstentions? No? Okay, passes. Just to be clear, everyone was in favor, so, all right. Okay, sorry, just wanted to make sure nobody was. Now we're moving on to Senate Resolution 29, which is being proposed by.
This resolution 29, it requires high schools to establish a college ability or awareness and accessibility campaign and include a checklist for the A4 admission requirements on the students' transcripts. So right now, if you look on the resolution, it says, so from a September 2015 study, only 46.5% of Arizona high school graduates are eligible for admission. So this will just hopefully increase that. Usually the high school counselors are tasked with letting people know if they're on track for graduation. But from a 2014 report from the National Association of College Admissions Counseling, the rate in Arizona from counselors to students is 863-1. So that's not good. So hopefully there's no anticipated physical impact, and hopefully we can just get more people eligible for admission into ASU and into a bed. Any questions?
What is the argument against it? What's that?
So it's, I don't know, they're not a real solid argument against it. It's just the opponents think that it would take more time for counselors, or yeah.
I know, or just like as a kid or something like this, like for example, is like someone argued that high school is not preparing you to go to college. It's just you just graduate from high school. That's just your required education. After that, whatever they do is kind of their choice. So, like kind of making this. I mean, it's like they can make it accessible and like have students know that this is an option. They can like be like, this is you're going to college.
Yeah. It just like says like you're on. It's like the on track training map thing. It's, you don't have to go to college, or it's just giving you like further information that you could look up for yourself online, but it's just extra information, and it's easier for parents and students to know that information.
All those in favor of approving Senate Resolution 29, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, Senate Resolution 29 passes. So then that, moving on to the amendment of Senate Resolution 26, I'm not 100% sure of how we go about doing this. So adding the line to the athletics fee clarification. So clarification might not be talked about in August, just adding that, but I'm driving to look at it.
We're gonna take a reconsideration of the bill, so because this is the day after on legislative days, so we had legislative day 2 weeks ago, and that was the session. We do reconsideration of that day, or was it the next day? After that, done deal. So we do reconsideration here and now, and then we have a reconsideration here, and basically add in that extra line into the bill as a capacity.
So do we need to consider Senate Resolution 26?
For Senate Resolution 26.
All those in favor of reconsidering Senate Resolution 26, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, so it's back on the table, so we're looking at Senate Resolution 26. And then if you guys want to fill up the amendment, it's also on the website. So it includes the line, unless otherwise instructed by the ASASU Council of Presidents, all priorities listed in the athletics charter are equally important and must be honored.
So let's say I move to amend point A, the comprehensive review to include statement unless otherwise instructed by the ASASU Council of Presidents, all priorities listed in the athletics feature. In line.
So let's have the questions. Change the motion. Let me second it, right? Okay. Change the motion to be that and wherever whatever line was has lines on this, how many lines of document was. That's interesting state. We're going to have it be further resolved in the document the exact lines.
I think it should move.
So unfortunately, without line numbers makes it harder to look at the questions way of saying this would be to say that we're going to amend this, move to amend to add be it further enacted to line after the last be it further resolved line of the document. If you are annoying, just my line numbers are nice, but that's how you're going to do it the same line.
I move to amend Senate Resolution 26 to amend point A to add the statement unless otherwise instructed by the ASASU Council of Presidents, all priorities listed in the athletics fee charter are equally important and must be honored after the last be it enacted statement result. Be it resolved.
Yeah. Is there any words? Is there a second? Okay, all those in favor of making this amendment, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, is there any further discussion on the document?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor of approving the amended Senate Resolution 26, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, with that, we move on to a call to the audience. Okay. Final statements.
I didn't get a chance. I mean.
You talk so quick.
Sorry, I have to.
Jump on the podium.
No, as Ryan mentioned it before, the spring break coming up, it's definitely great for you all to go ahead and relax, but definitely keep our eye out for, the Ryan that you're sending out to keep you all heads up about some stuff that's coming down the pipe in preparation. Also remember that when you all come back from spring break, literally you are going back into another Senate meeting. So kind of having that in mind, because you won't have a caucus. So I don't know if you all actually work hard out sometimes you actually can get together information for the next meeting. So thinking about agenda items, all that fun stuff. Plus BAC funding requests are going to be right there waiting for you as soon as you come back. I would also ask if possible, with the BAC, if we can get those agendas maybe day, night, Tuesday in the morning. Just gives me a chance to actually print up everything, read everything before the meeting, and then we'll go over the situation. Cool. That's all.
There's no student government collective. We have bylaw drafts that are almost done. We're receiving them. This is a major thing because this is going to be a statewide body. And so that is a lot of delegation of responsibility and a lot of basically defined power. And the negotiations are obviously always on the razor's edge because we have to deal with all the United States as well as NAU and U of A. So those will be out. Actually, because U of A and NAU don't have spring break, they're finishing that up during our spring break. So it won't be a pressing priority for y'all, but do you expect when you're back, we're going to be asking for your opinion on those bodies. It's fairly simple, but there's a lot of implications as in the failure of this.
The presidents are doing, it now has the same name, so we're gonna have to change or something, but it's like the presidents Arizona Student Government Collaborative, but it's just the president's conference call between the student governments Arizona. We're doing one on March 18th, so we're gonna have a conversation there. I also want to let you know, in COP, we requested that the fees get reviewed every February now, and we did get to review all the fees with COP, and all of the students on the committees for those fees were invited to reviews as well. So this Wednesday, I saw the technology fee and the facilities fee. So I got presentations from those. Dan's supposed to send them to me, he hasn't sent them to me yet, but he's going to send them to me. And that way I can have them in the drive for you to look at. So if you have any questions as far as facilities fee or technology fee. But I'm really happy to see that now every February they're going to end up reviewing the fees actually within every student committee and the COP. So that'll be a cool thing that we get to see every year. Okay.
Anyone want to say something? Have a great spring break.
Thank you.
Yes. All right, and with that, is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
All those in favor of adjourning, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions?